Mommy, why? Kunle's voice shook as he stood in the middle of his living room staring at his mother in shock. Zainab was on the floor crying badly. Her whole body was shaking. Kunle could not believe what he just heard. You ruined my life, he shouted. 5 failed relationships, 5 miscarriages. I lost a life-changing contract. I almost lost my marriage. All because of you, your obsession, your insecurities, your selfish reasons. Oh no. His mother, Iyakunle, stood quietly, tears running down her face, frozen, her wrapper trembling around her waist. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but nobody moved to comfort her. The pastor stood beside them after hours of prayer that finally exposed the truth. Zainab covered her face and cried louder. Then she spoke. All this time, it was you? Ah, she said painfully. Kunle held his head. Everything felt like a bad dream, and as silence filled the house, memories rushed back to him. Because everything started the day Lagos gathered to celebrate their wedding. The wedding of Kunle and Zainab was not just a ceremony. It was an event people talked about for weeks. The wedding hall in Lagos glittered with lights and decorations. Ashwabi colors filled every corner like a moving rainbow. Friends danced tirelessly to live band music, while photographers struggled to capture every joyful moment. Kunle looked like a king in his perfectly tailored agbada, smiling proudly beside his bride. Zainab shined like sunlight itself, elegant, calm, and full of grace. It was a beautiful and long-awaited day. Friends and family came from different places to celebrate with them. Music was loud, people danced, and happiness filled the air. Many people were surprised because Kunle's mother finally accepted a woman for his son. Before Zainab, Kunle dated 5 different women. None of the relationships worked because his mother always found one problem or another. But this time was different. Iyakunle smiled at Zainab and treated her kindly. Kunle felt relieved. He believed peace had finally come. During gift presentation, many people brought gifts for the couple. Then Iyakunle came forward, holding a wrapped box. She gave it to Zainab. My daughter, she said smiling, take this clock as a sign that you are now part of my family. Zainab was happy. Thank you, mommy. Then Iyakunle added, when you get home, hang it where everybody will see it in your living room. I will be coming to check on you people and this clock from time to time. Zainab agreed without thinking twice. To her, it was just a normal gift from her mother-in-law. She did not know that the gift carried something else. After the wedding, they moved into their new well-furnished house. They were happy. They laughed, cooked together, and planned their future. Zainab remembered her mother-in-law's instruction and hung the clock in the center of the living room. The clock began to tick. Tick, tock, tick, tock. That was the day problems entered their home. 2 weeks into the marriage, Zainab lost her first pregnancy. The doctor said it was normal and told them not to worry. Kunle comforted her. But after that day, small arguments started. They began to misunderstand each other over little things. Sometimes they would argue and later wonder why they were even fighting. Months later, Zainab became pregnant again. They were happy again, but she lost it too. Zainab cried every night. Kunle became frustrated. Then another miscarriage happened. And another. 5 times. Their home changed completely. Kunle started coming home late, sometimes drunk. Zainab begged him to change, but he became more angry every day. Peace disappeared from the house. Only the clock continued ticking on the wall. One evening, during a serious argument, voices became loud. You don't care about this marriage again, Zainab cried. And you think I'm happy? Kunle shouted back. Suddenly, why? The clock fell from the wall. Both of them became quiet immediately. The ticking stopped. The house felt calm, strangely calm. Zainab picked the clock and kept it inside the cupboard. That night, for the first time in months, they slept peacefully. No argument, no anger, just peace. The next morning, very early the next morning, someone knocked loudly on the door. It was Iyakunle. She entered quickly and looked around the living room. She did not greet. She did not ask how they were doing. Her first question was, where is the clock? Zainab felt surprised. Mommy, it fell yesterday. I kept it inside. Iyakunle's face changed immediately. Why you remove it? Go and hang it back now. Her reaction shocked Zainab, But out of respect, she brought the clock and hung it back. From that very day, their problems returned again, worse than before.
We cannot continue like this. Kule sighed loudly. I'm tired, Zinab. Everything in my life is scattering. Our life is scattering, she corrected softly. But he stood up and walked away. Zinab sat alone and cried quietly. She began to feel like a stranger inside her own marriage. One afternoon, Zinab was cleaning the house when NEPA took light. The house became silent. That was when she noticed something. The clock had stopped ticking because there was no power. And strangely, the house felt peaceful again. Her chest felt light. Her mind became calm. She even smiled without knowing why. But immediately electricity returned, the clock started again. Tick, tock. At that same moment, irritation suddenly filled her body. She paused. Something was not right. That evening, Kunle returned home angry again after losing another life-changing business opportunity. I don't understand what is happening to me, he complained. Everything just keeps failing. Zinab looked at the clock slowly. A thought crossed her mind, but she quickly pushed it away. How can ordinary clock cause problem? She whispered to herself. Still, fear remained. Zinab speaks out. A few days later, Zinab visited her close friend Chioma. The moment Chioma opened the door, she knew something was wrong. My friend, waiting happened to you. You look tired. Zinab sat down and burst into tears. She explained everything. The miscarriages, Kunle's behavior, the constant arguments, and the strange feeling in their home. Chioma listened carefully without interrupting. When Zinab finished, Chioma spoke slowly. Zinab, I will tell you something, but don't be offended. I'm listening, Zinab said weakly. This problem no look ordinary. Have you prayed seriously about it? Zinab nodded. I pray every day. Chioma shook her head gently. I mean real prayer. Come to my church this Sunday. Just come. Zinab hesitated. She was tired of disappointment, but something inside her told her to try. Okay, she finally agreed. That Sunday, Zinab followed Chioma to church. The service was normal at first, singing, dancing, prayers. But during prayer time, the pastor suddenly stopped speaking. He looked around slowly. Then his eyes rested on Zinab. You, he said gently, pointing toward her. Zinab's heart began to beat fast. Tears filled her eyes immediately. The church became quiet. The pastor continued. I am seeing a house, a young couple, a lot of crying, and a clock on the wall. Zinab started crying. Everything suddenly began to make sense. The pastor asked Zinab to come forward. Prayers started immediately. Church members surrounded her, praying loudly.
Zinab felt weak as tears poured from her eyes. The pastor spoke again. The person behind this is close to you, very close. At that moment, Zinab remembered Iyakunle's strange reaction when the clock was removed. Fear ran through her body. The pastor instructed them to bring the clock to church the next day. And that was when the real truth finally came out. The next morning, Zinab woke up very early. She did not even wait for Kunle to wake up before telling him everything that happened in church. At first, Kunle looked confused. A pastor said the problem is a clock? He asked. Zinab nodded slowly. I didn't believe it at first too, but think about it. The day the clock fell, we had peace. Kunle became quiet. He remembered that night clearly. It was true. That was the only peaceful night they had enjoyed in many months. Without wasting time, they removed the clock from the wall. Immediately Zinab carried it in her hands. She felt uncomfortable, like something heavy was inside it. They wrapped it inside a cloth and took it to church. When they arrived, the pastor was already waiting. The moment the clock was brought inside, the pastor's expression changed. He began to pray immediately. Whatever power attached to this object be broken in Jesus' name. Church members prayed loudly. Zinab held Kunle's hand tightly. Suddenly, the pastor stopped and said, the person connected to this matter will not have rest until they come here. Nobody understood what he meant, but barely 30 minutes later, someone rushed into the church compound. It was Iyakunle. She looked disturbed and restless, as if something pushed her there. The moment she entered and saw the clock on the altar, she froze. Her body began to shake. Kunle stood up in shock. Mama, how you take no say we dey here? She could not answer. Instead, tears started running down her face. The pastor spoke calmly. Madam, tell the truth. Today is the day of freedom. She tried to resist, but suddenly she fell on her knees crying. I did it, she said weakly. The church became silent. Kule stepped back like someone slapped him. Mama, what do you mean? She cried harder. I was afraid, she confessed. I didn't want any woman to take my son away from me. Zainab covered her mouth in shock. Iyakule continued speaking between tears. That clock was given to me many years ago by someone who said it would help me watch over my home. I used it whenever Kule brought a woman.
Kule's legs felt weak, he whispered. She nodded slowly. I made sure none of them stayed. Zainab began crying again. And my miscarriages, she asked painfully. Iakule could not look at her. The clock was monitoring your home, causing confusion, stopping peace. I only wanted my son to depend on me forever. Kule shouted in disbelief. Mommy, why? You ruined my life. 5 relationships failed. 5 miscarriages. I lost my biggest contract. I nearly lost my marriage. His voice broke as tears filled his eyes. The pastor raised his hand gently. Enough. Today is Deliverance Day. The pastor prayed over the clock. After intense prayers, he instructed that it should be destroyed. One of the church workers carried it outside. As the clock broke into pieces, Zainab suddenly felt light, like a heavy load left her body. Kule also felt calm for the first time in months. They both looked at each other quietly. Peace, real peace. The pastor prayed for Iyakule too. She cried and begged Zainab for forgiveness. My daughter, forgive me. Jealousy blinded me. Zainab hesitated, hurt still fresh in her heart, but slowly she nodded. I forgive you, Mommy, but please, I'll have to keep my distance for now, so you never hurt us again. From that day, things began to change gradually. Arguments stopped. Kule's business started improving again. He began coming home early, laughing and talking like before. Their house felt warm again. Friends noticed the difference immediately. One evening, Zainab sat in the living room and suddenly realized something. The house was completely quiet. No strange heaviness, no tension, just peace. Months later, Zainab became pregnant again. Fear tried to enter her heart, but this time she held on to faith. Weeks passed, then months. No miscarriage. Kule became more caring than ever, always checking on her. And finally, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The day Kule carried his son in his arms, tears rolled down his face. He looked at Zainab and said softly, We survived. Years later, whenever visitors came to their home, one thing was missing from their wall: no ticking clock. Only family pictures and laughter filled the space. Kule learned a painful lesson. Not every gift is given with love. And sometimes the greatest danger does not come from strangers, but from the people closest to us. But forgiveness, faith, and truth finally gave them back the home they almost lost. And this time, their happiness was real.